and gentlemen, please welcome our VP of Marketing at CloudBees, Andre Pino.
Welcome to DevOps World in beautiful Lisbon, Portugal. We're thrilled that you could be here. You know, what'd you think of our minions in the opening video? They were kicking it with Jenkins X, weren't they? All right. So this is our largest event in Europe. Look around, we're almost 900 strong here today. And in fact, the most impressive thing is we've got over 30 countries represented here, including Russia, Australia, and Japan. Let's give them a hand. You know, for the last couple of years, our conference theme has been transform. And what a perfect fitting theme, not only for this conference, but for our industry, as all of us help to transform our companies, our industries, and our world. But you know what? We thought for this year that we needed to do more than transform. You know, transforming is great, but at the end of the day, we all need to make it happen, and we need to deliver. And so this year, our conference theme is transform and deliver. And I got to tell you, one of the things we're really proud about DevOps World is that it is a conference where not only do you learn what to do, you learn how to do it as well. And so I think it's very fitting to add the deliver part, because this week you're going to learn how to do it as well. We have a really great conference planned for you. We've got so many things packed into the next couple of days. How many of you were at the training and workshops yesterday? Great. Yeah, large number of you. But in addition to that, we have a number of practitioner sessions. We have leadership sessions. We have a great expo floor with a number of vendors who you can check out and see the latest and greatest in automation and technologies. We also have a number of fun activities. So we've got over 50 sessions. We got, you know, over 10 training sessions and workshops for you to choose from. And so please make the most over the next couple of days to get as much out of it as possible. You know, our sponsors are really the heart and soul of this conference, and we're very proud to have Google Cloud as our showcase sponsor for this year's conference. So as the showcase sponsor, they will be delivering a keynote tomorrow. They'll also be participating in this morning's keynote as well, but they also have a number of workshops and sessions and a very cool booth on the expo floor, so check it out. In addition to our showcase sponsor, we have our Premier Plus sponsor, VMware Tanzu, and our elite sponsors, HCL Software and JFrog. But we have a number of other sponsors as well, so please go to the expo floor and check them out. In addition to our sponsors, we also have our training and our media sponsors, and we also have our continuous learning track that was sponsored by the DevOps Institute. And we're very pleased and very proud to have all of these folks participate in the conference this year. So we want to ensure that everyone has a great learning experience this week, and our code of conduct has been developed to create a harassment-free environment for everyone. So if any of you experience any type of disrespect or harassment, feel free to relate it to any of our staff members, and we'll be happy to address the issue. Included in your registrations this week is a certification exam. So if you'd like to get certified on Jenkins or like to get certified on CloudBees products, you can do that this week. We'll be conducting certification exams over the next couple of days. And if you prefer to take the exam when you return back home, we have the ability for you to take that exam at a certification center near you as well. So please take full advantage of that. You know, in DevOps, we're all superheroes. And so we're doing amazing things as we transform and deliver our individual companies as well as the world around us. And as you walk around the conference today, especially in the Galleria, which is the walkway between the east and west side, you'll see some of our real-life superhero teams. And these teams are doing amazing things for their companies and for their industries. Next year, we'd love to be able to highlight you and your teams. And if you'd like to do that, stop by the CloudBees booth, give us your name and contact info, and we'll be in touch next year to get that set up. Okay, so a little bit about today. So today's general session will include 3 keynotes. We'll have the keynote by the CD Foundation. We'll have the CloudBees keynote by Sasha Labere, our CEO. And then following Sasha will be another CloudBees keynote by Sean Ahmed, our VP of Product Marketing. Also today is our super party. That will take place tonight from 5 to 7 in the Expo Hall, and it is sponsored by Sonatype. Now listen, if you didn't pack your cape or your mask, don't worry about it. We've got you covered, okay? We'll have plenty of capes and masks for everybody at the party, so just come and have a great time. A little bit about tomorrow. So tomorrow, the same time, we'll be right back here in the Auditorium 1, and we'll have a keynote from Google. We'll have a developer keynote, and we'll have a VMware keynote as well. So these are all, very important players within our industry, as well as James Governor from RedMonk will be delivering a very interesting developer keynote as well. We also want to take a moment and highlight the many significant contributions women are making to our industry. So please join us tomorrow for our Women in Tech Luncheon. That'll take place at 12:15 tomorrow, and you're all invited to attend. Okay, so we've got a great event planned for you. Please take the time to learn as much as you can over the next couple of days and be inspired by the many new technologies and transformational stories that you hear about. But speaking of transformations, it all started 15 years ago in San Francisco by an amazing man with an amazing vision. Yes, I'm talking about Kosuke Kawaguchi, the founder of what we know today as Jenkins, as the Jenkins project. And so today, we're celebrating 15 years of Jenkins. Jenkins has been transforming the way software is developed and the way developers work over the last 15 years. And it's been growing and growing every year. In fact, today, it continues to be the most dominant DevOps technology in the world. So let's give Kosuke and Jenkins a big hand. In March of this year, CloudBees worked with Google and Netflix and the Linux Foundation to form the Continuous Delivery Foundation. And we're proud to have the Continuous Delivery Foundation be a big part of this conference this year. So please join me in welcoming Tracy Miranda, the director of There we go. Director of Open Source Community at CloudBees and also on the governing board of the Continuous Delivery Foundation. Tracy.
Thanks, Andre.
Welcome.
Morning, everybody. Hi. Wow, what a lovely audience. So, who's here to take the DevOps game up a notch today? Woo! Just a few of you. I don't know, the rest of you are all here for Lisbon. All right, who's here to take your DevOps game up a notch today? Woo! Yeah, me too. So, earlier this year, as Andre mentioned, the Continuous Delivery Foundation was formed as the new home bringing together Jenkins, Jenkins X, Netflix, and Tecton under one roof. In a little while, we'll hear from some of the project leaders, Kosuke Kawaguchi, James Strachan, and Tara Hernandez. But first, I just want to share a little bit more about the goals of the Continuous Delivery Foundation. So when it was formed, many recognized that it underscored the importance of software delivery in the industry. And those of us who came together to form it, we wanted to be really thoughtful because we could see we were in this really unique place to drive change in this industry being rapidly changed by the rise of things like microservices, container technology, and cloud native. So how could we do this? As you might guess, DevOps World, Jenkins World is just this amazing conference for bringing community together. So that's what we did back in San Francisco. The CDF board members, we were joined by the amazing Jane Grohl of the DevOps Institute and Jez Humble. Tara Hernandez captured this amazing picture of all of us brainstorming. And the only thing I don't love about the picture is that Tara herself is not in it. So I've told her next time she better do a selfie so she gets herself in the picture. So we all came together, and everyone always remarks, it's like, oh, everyone's wearing sunglasses in that picture. And I always say, yeah, that's because the future of CDF is so bright. You're such a great audience. Anyway, the outcome of that meeting were these 9 goals, which we all said we wanted to focus on. There's a lot on that screen, and I encourage you to check out the website, cd.foundation, to read more about our plans. But let me focus you in on just 3 areas. 3 areas where, for the software industry, we have to say, if we had a report card, it would say, must do better. Tool interoperability, diversity and inclusion, and security. Industry-level problems that we need to come together to solve, and CDF is looking to drive a lot of initiatives in this space. So we're off to a good start. We have a number of companies who support our mission, from CloudBees, Google, and Netflix, all the way to our latest premier member, Fujitsu. And we also have the support of a number of general and end-user member companies, folks like HSBC and eBay. We also have the DevOps Institute, and it might not be shown there, but our latest member is the cybersecurity department at NYU. So a cross-disciplinary set of folks all coming together to work together. But really, we also need individuals. So every single one of you can play a role in taking the lessons from open source software at scale and driving the change. As we say in open source, community is the capacity. So do join us. So now, speaking of open source software at scale, it is my great pleasure and privilege to introduce our next speaker. Chief Scientist at CloudBees, creator of Jenkins, and just about the nicest, most humble person you will ever meet. Please give a very warm welcome for Kosuke Kawaguchi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So this year, like Andrew was saying, Jenkins got 15 years old. 15 years. Thank you. In this industry where we live dog years, 15 years is a legitimately long time, right? As a context, my own daughter, who is actually younger than the project, is going to high school. Right? So that makes me feel really old. So I think it's fair to say that we stood the test of the time, And so if you allow me, I'd like to take a little trip down the memory lane when the whole thing started, which is at 2004 at Sun Microsystems in sunny California. So I was working as a software developer in a team of, I think, 4 or 5 engineers. We are working with the CVS, the version control system, and probably many of you are too young to know that anymore. But I used to be known as a guy who breaks build all the time. So one day, I just had one too many build failures. And another phone call from my colleague said, hey, you touched this source file the last time, and it doesn't compile anymore. What's going on? And so I was on the phone, and I was looking under my desk. There was some workstation I wasn't using for the work, and I thought, well, what if my computer can build and test it all the time so that it catches a problem before my colleagues do? I thought it would be nice if that happens, and I didn't look as foolish as I am. So that's how the whole thing kind of got set in motion. And for the longest time, I just was minding my own sandbox. And then people around me were users, and they provided me the encouragement to keep going. And then pretty soon, it's sort of like a slowly but steadily turned into a roller coaster ride that never stopped since then. Lots of amazing, unexpected things that I didn't see coming happened as a result of this project. So, well, first of all, it turns out that I wasn't the only one who's breaking build all the time. So clearly, like all of you in the room, I think you are one of those people, and there's no shame in that. So the adoption kept going up and up and upward to the point of a ridiculous number. Another thing that kept me surprised was the number of plugins. I remember writing first 10 or so plugins myself just to prove it out. And then pretty soon, like a lot of people from all over the world that I didn't anticipate just jumped right in and started building their own CI server that they liked. And then today, we are counting more than 1,600 plugins, and it keeps increasing because this morning I checked it, and this number went up to 1,686. So that's how quickly we're adding things up. And other things, more unexpected things that I didn't see coming happened. And then so I'd like you to actually participate in guessing some of these things that blown away my mind when I heard about it. So I ask you to pull out your cell phone. And then if you go to the website, dementi.com, and type in the code, you could participate in this survey. So I think that would be a little bit of fun. So some of the use cases, I originally built Jenkins obviously to build and test software, but some of the use cases that I heard, let's just say they went above and beyond my expectations. So of 4 choices, one of them did not actually happen, but there's all 3 others actually happened. So the monitoring babies, filing taxes, that's pretty mission critical use cases. That's scary. I hope I set some backdoor in there. Thanks for participating. The biotech experiment, that's another pretty high-stake use case. Making juries, I guess that's nowadays it must be like a 3D CAD design. So I suppose it may be. All right. So how are you doing? A good number of people coming in. Oh, so people really don't. I guess. Let's see. So making juries is the people don't believe that that's where Jenkins is helping. So that's a shame because this is one of my hobbies, and I hope one of these days somebody in that industry is going to actually tell me that yes, they use Jenkins to design the juries. But you're right, this is one of the use cases that actually I did not hear happen. All right, so in the interest of time, let's move on to the next question. So, those are the use cases that I talked about. Now, I've heard Jenkins itself went to some crazy places that I didn't anticipate. Right, so ships in high seas, how it produce shows, theme park attractions, they orbit around the Earth. So those are all 4 somewhat unlikely places where a program like Jenkins would go. But at the same time, it kind of makes sense because I guess some of them are isolated environments. So if you wanted to do something, you need to, I guess, put them up there. All right, so how are we doing? Theme park attractions. Yeah, it's like how could that happen, right? I mean, like, does it even have a computer? Well, it actually does have computers. So the correct answer in this case is that the orbit around Earth is one place that we have not conquered. I'm pretty sure they're using Jenkins to design and build spacecraft and run the software in it, but not the Jenkins software itself up on there. But I've heard that they're putting 3D printers up on the satellite. So I think in not so distant future, they might need a build server on the satellite or the ISS. Okay, so yeah, thanks for your participation. So let's move on. So Now, those were like example of unexpected use cases. But perhaps the most rewarding unexpected things that happened was all the contributors to the project. I talked about the number of plugins. Those are mostly done by the people around the world. And in fact, for some of them, this project literally changed their life. They pushed themselves, the project pushed them into a new career, and some of them moved to a wholly new country to live because of the opportunities that this created. And then many of them found a new passion in this industry thanks to the project. And then these are some of the portraits of the people I love to be a part, to share a part of my experience in life. Another really unexpected thing that was also rewarding for me was CloudBees, the company. It enabled, in many ways, Jenkins contributors to spend even more time on the project by becoming an employee of this company. And it also made Jenkins more credible options in the eyes of many mainstream enterprise. For them, seeing a commercial entity in the project, putting its weight behind it, was a big booster for the confidence. And as a global project, we left a lot of mark everywhere around the world. One of the places that's very memorable for me is the High Street in San Francisco. This is where Andrew and Tyler and I got together one day in a crepe shop and set the whole thing in motion that eventually became Jenkins. Of course, if American has a place like San Francisco, we have a large contributor base here in Europe. And then in Brussels in winter, there's this big European developer conference where a lot of people get together. So it turns out that, it kind of became a place for a lot of the European contributors of the Jenkins project to get together. And this was around the time when the Leroy Jenkins meme was going on. So when we found a restaurant named Cafe Leroy in downtown Brussels, of course it had to be the place where we meet. So that we kept doing. That's what we kept doing every year since then. So I think it's been going on for almost 10 years. And then in Marine Memorials Club in San Francisco, I think this was around maybe 8 years ago, we first had this inaugural Jenkins user conference. And that kept evolving and getting bigger into this very conference that you are a part of today. So that event itself came a long road. And those are just a few examples. And we kept going to various places. And everywhere we went, we connected people there. We had great conversations. We enabled a lot of people. And nowadays, we are spreading truly around the world. So we actually connected we sort of directly helped more than 100 groups, local meetup groups to form over close to 40 countries, connecting close to 30,000 people. So those are the sort of network of the people who are making difference on the ground. Now, when I say we are leaving the mark everywhere, let's face it, it's because you are leaving the mark everywhere, right? Because this is actually all about you. You collectively created this entirely new field, or what I would call the developer productivity engineering. These are the people focused on making other software developers productive. And I know for many of you, Jenkins has a part of that journey, perhaps small, but the meaningful part of that journey. And I know you're kind because I really feel like I belong to that tribe. Your pride is not being in the spotlight yourself, because like I said, your job is to help other people be in the spotlight, delivering their value. But you make the stuff work. You're the glue that holds things together. And without your work, nothing is going to go out of the door. Like all these beautiful lines of the code, it's not going to go anywhere. And because you play that glue role, you often have to deal with legacies. Sometimes you have to fight fires, and otherwise you wrestle in the mud whenever necessary. You deal with the world as it is, and not with all its gory ugliness. You don't always get to have the luxury of working with beautiful toy solutions. But that's the price that you gladly pay, I know, because that's what it takes to rock the world. And what you do truly rocks the world. And I know that. And you know that. Your work really makes a difference, and it touches people's ways. It touches people's lives in ways that they never know existed. To this day, my wife still does not understand exactly what I do. And I know it's true with many of you as well. And then so because of that, when things go well, your work is invisible, right? And then people take your work for granted. And then when that happens, like we actually smile at each other and we pat ourselves in the back for a job well done, because that's what we do. And that's the pride of your people. That's the pride of our people, I think. And if you take pride in that, I think you belong with us. And those are the people we built the Jenkins software for. Not too far away from here, there's this beautiful bridge standing. And I'm pretty sure hundreds of thousands of people cross that bridge every single day to commute into Lisbon. And I'm sure in their car, they're not thinking at all about the bridge. It just exists there. They use it every day. And nobody knows, probably, the name of the engineers who built that bridge. As far as I know, there's no statues left behind of who they are. But I'm pretty sure these people are very proud of their work. They do not need statues to validate that what they made, what they built, left a profound impact to so many people's life in real ways. And I think that's us, isn't it? That's what we do. And then those are the people I made Jenkins for, people doing the real work, making a real impact in invisible places. And I hope Jenkins will always be with these people. And that's, I think, what makes the 15 years of our journey very worthwhile. I'm very proud that the Jenkins has been a small but meaningful part of your life and your career, and you're helping you make the difference in the world. And all the differences you're making around the world. One of my true passion and the joy that I get out of this job is that I get to travel around the world and meet and talk to software development teams that's doing awesome work. Their stories always inspire me, and I've been personally collecting those stories into write-ups. And each one of them has been incredible. Now, this journey that I started 15 years ago, it's going to continue. The road that we are traveling is getting wider, and it's not just about the Jenkins anymore, right? It's all these projects that's joining, continuous delivery foundations, more and more people are joining this march, making this a bigger and bigger project. So that's what the CDF is about to me. And I don't know exactly where this journey is going to take us, but I know that it's going to be another exciting places. So just to end this, today I didn't really talk anything about I spent all my time looking back on what has happened in the past 15 years. But Jeremy is going to have a talk right after this keynote to talk about where CloudBees sees the Jenkins project and what it's planned to do. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you're not going to miss this talk. So on that note, sometimes I've been introduced as a father of Jenkins. I was asked to introduce this next person as the godmother of continuous integration. So that's a killer title. Please welcome Tara Hernandez to the stage. That is a killer title.
Hey, everybody. Thanks, Kosuke, you brat. Hi, as he said, I'm Tara Hernandez. I'm an engineering manager for Google Cloud Platform, and I've been helping companies ship software for most of my career. Well, actually, all of my career is over 25 years. I am old. See the gray? I'm here to talk about pain, and the pain of shipping software and supporting developers. Back in the 90s, I worked at this tiny little company called Netscape Communications, and we shipped web browsers. And we had this goal of shipping web browser to everybody and every operating system known to man. Back then, that was a lot of operating systems, over 40, single code base. If we were lucky, that would build maybe once or twice a month clean. This was terrible. The days of long, drawn-out software delivery was going fast. The internet era had arrived. So we invented this tool called Tinderbox. It was a frantic pile of really bad Perl code whose sole responsibility was to watch our CVS repository, and anytime somebody made a commit, because God knows there weren't pull requests back then, it would kick off builds on every operating system we had hardware for. This was huge. It was kind of hard to maintain and took a lot of effort, but we went from building once or twice a month cleanly to every day. Absolutely magnificent improvement in developer efficiency. But that's not the thing that solved my pain. The thing that solved my pain was Linux. Linux made most of those operating systems go away as a de facto standard. Thank God for that. I have to say, SGI Indy running IRIX was the best computer ever made, but I was glad to give it up if it meant that the overall workload of operating system support went away. In addition, software companies no longer had to worry about this horrible cost of porting between all these operating systems. So instead, they could do what was really important, work on features. And as continuous integration, like Tinderbox and then later Jenkins, showed us, investing in things like automation test frameworks and other forms of automated validation allowed software delivery to get faster and faster. And thank God for that. And Jenkins was great because we didn't have to invent this at every company we went to. And more importantly, it was an open platform with a plugin ecosystem. There is no standard for continuous integration. Every company, every engineering team, every software product has its little intricacies of what it needs as far as customization. And Jenkins allowed that with its system, and it laid the groundwork for what came next. And as we know, high-tech industry moves at lightning speed now. And here comes a whole new range of pain for those of us in the software delivery infrastructure space. Because here comes cloud, and here comes containers. And while Docker showed us that, hey, this whole idea of a super lightweight virtualization is super cool and awesome, and cloud platforms enable us to get out of the business of managing millions of dollars of hardware, it introduces a whole new set of problems for those of us who care about the software delivery process. And now that we have containers, how do we manage them? Well, okay, so there was Docker Swarm and Mesos and Cloud Foundry and ECS and a partridge in a pear tree, right? We have porting issues again. If you want to switch cloud platforms, are you going to have to switch your infrastructure? That slows down how fast you can do your software delivery. That's no good. So here comes Kubernetes. Thank goodness it's emerging as a de facto standard for orchestration. And we know that that's true because it runs on Google Cloud Platform or on-prem or in AWS or in Azure. In fact, AWS just announced that Kubernetes is now supported in Fargate. So what does this do for us? It says that if we want to adopt a new technology, we do not have to change the way we do our delivery just because of that. That's fantastic. That solves my second pain. And like Linux, Kubernetes is open source. So as an industry, we have a collective say in what happens to it. We can join the CNCF, we can join the SIGs and the working groups, and we can all benefit from the fact that it's in our collective best interest to ensure a Kubernetes cluster can truly run everywhere. So what does continuous delivery have to do with this? Much like I said, continuous integration is not a standard. By the way, I love XKCD. Let's talk about this. Continuous integration is not a standard. Continuous delivery is not a standard. We're all still going to have those little intricacies and details that make our ability to deliver software a unique environment. The history tells us this. I've been doing it my whole career. It's never been a standard. So as companies look to improve their environment, we don't want to have to reinvent wheels. Which brings us to what I'm here to talk about today, which is Tecton. Tecton is not meant to be a continuous delivery standard at all. Tecton is a Kubernetes ecosystem through which you can build the software delivery perfection that you want to build. Not that anything we do is perfect, we're human, but we can get close, right? And it's based on kind of like the idea of a thermostat. Your house gets cold, the thermostat says, hey, your house is cold. So what does it do? It turns on the furnace. Tecton is part of the Kubernetes ecosystem. It says, are your services up to date? No. Oh, well, we better build that new code and deploy it, and hopefully along the way do a whole bunch of testing to make sure that what our customers get is good, right? So instead of a furnace for Tecton, we have pipelines and tasks. Pipelines are an arbitrary set of tasks you describe. Each task is a self-contained set of actions. You feed some inputs, it executes some actions against those inputs, hands back a result. Could be output, could be an artifact. The pipeline doesn't care what the task is or does. It acts in a declarative way. You just feed it in things, it hands you back things. Keeps a steady state. Beyond that, it's open source. It's part of Kubernetes. There's a catalog repo already growing, kind of like the Jenkins plugin ecosystem, hopefully quite not as chaotic. No offense, Kosuke. Has a growing list of integrations that take advantage of this idea of an open platform within the Kubernetes space, right? Let's say you've got a legacy system, so you've got a RESTful API, you've got some web services, you've got an RPC service. You just want that to work, and you just want that to work on any hosting platform that you care to run, right? That's the important thing. That is what we as an industry have said we want to be able to do. even more exciting, we have these, now that we have Tecton, we have these emerging technologies that are building on top of Tecton as a foundational platform, taking advantage of the fact that what we've done in its essence is extend Kubernetes to create this richer ecosystem for your software delivery process. So things like IBM, Cabanero, and Trigger Mesh, and of course Jenkins X builds on top of Tecton. James is going to talk about that in a second. And watching how the Tecton and Jenkins X teams came together really showed us how, as an industry, we're getting older and wiser now, and we're making these collaborations faster and faster, because there's a massive benefit to be had by doing those collaborations. And so when the Jenkins X team decided to use Tecton for its execution layer, they were able then, instead of the porting pain from the old days, now they're able to hand off that execution layer and focus on the things that make Jenkins X really awesome, right? Things around monitoring and reporting features and that kind of stuff. This demonstrates another one of the key values that we have for Tecton, which is composability. Tecton aims to allow all of us opinionated developers, because we all have our opinions, right, to have the flexibility to do what we want with the technology that we want by simply providing the necessary building blocks that make it easy to do so. Because to Tecton, it all boils down to this: a workflow. The workflow that is custom to your environment, that solves your business needs in a way that makes sense to you. We don't want to prescribe anything more than that. We just want to make it really easy for you to do that. There's a small subversive part of me that wants to contribute a tinderbox task to Tecton catalog where all the steps are written in Perl, just because it could be done. It's all right. You can judge me. But it would probably be better for those of you who are interested in Kubernetes native CI/CD to take a look yourself, to see if your favorite tools and processes would benefit from the ecosystem Tecton provides. The Tecton dev team is a really awesome group of folks. There's already a ton of external contributors, and we're super proud to be part of the Continuous Delivery Foundation, because like I said, this is an area where as an industry, we're better off collaborating than competing. Thank you. And now I'm going to introduce the Grand High Galactic Overlord of Jenkins X, Mr. James Strachan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Cheers. Cheers. Hello, everybody. Welcome to DevOps World. It's awesome, isn't it? So I'm going to talk a little bit about Jenkins X in a second. Before I do, I'd just like to reflect a little bit about the huge changes that have taken place in the last half-decade in the software industry. So as Tara said, we're all moving away from virtual machines towards containers because they're simpler, smaller, lighter, and cheaper to run. Kubernetes is now the industry standard way of operating software at scale on any infrastructure, right? On-premise, public cloud, hybrid cloud. As a developer, you can go to any cloud provider or any platform vendor and have a fully managed Kubernetes offering with a couple of clicks, right? Click a couple of buttons and you have a fully managed Kubernetes cluster that you can build and deploy your application to. There's never been a better time to be a developer. It's truly awesome. In addition, last year, the Accelerate book came out. I don't know if you've not read the Accelerate book, please buy it and read it. It's the most important software book I've ever read in my life. It's amazing. It's full of all kinds of useful information that helps you become a high-performing team. Some of the statistics in the book are truly incredible. One of them is high-performing teams can be 2,500 times faster than low-performing teams. 2,500 times. Just imagine you could do one day's work and be years ahead of your competition already. I mean, it's truly amazing. One of the things I love the most about the book really is any team can become a high-performing team, right? It's not just hiring rock stars and Netflix and Google employees. Any team can become a high-performing team. It doesn't matter what business you're in, what technology you're using, what language you use. Any team can become high-performing. It's really a case of adopting the best practices of high-performing teams, and you will become high-performing. So what we've tried to do with Jenkins X is take all of those best practices from the Accelerate book and automate them through software. So automating your CI and CD, so you as developers can focus on delivering business value to your customers quickly, getting feedback, working in small batches, merging to master quickly, trunk-based development, and deliver business value to your customers quick. So Jenkins X is about automating CI and CD so you can focus on delivering your business value for your customers. Now, I've only got a minute or two, so I've got to move on quickly. Here's a couple of quotes for some of our users. Vincent has got a talk tomorrow. Pop along to that. Here's some of the talks. There's a bunch of talks today and a bunch of talks tomorrow on Jenkins X. So if you want to see lots of great demos, hear more about how Jenkins X works, hear from some folks who've been using Jenkins X in production for quite a while. So pop along to the Jenkins X talks and hear more about Jenkins X. And that's it. Jenkins X automates your CI and CD to help you deliver business value in the cloud. Thank you. Now, guys, do you want to come back and we could do a selfie? Hey.
Nick?
Maybe. Here. Can we do a selfie?
Yeah. Thank you very much, everybody, and please join the CDF. And last thing we're going to do?
Yeah.
Pose in.
Tracy said I needed to do a selfie. So everybody wave.
Everybody wave and smile.
Let me get in here.
Yay! X! Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Well done.